Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of ElevateNonprofit.com, an online learning platform for fundraising event professionals. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristen Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator. I am so excited today. I'm Kristen, one of your hosts, and I will actually be flying solo for today's conversation with Kelly. I get her all to myself. Today we are talking to Kelly Russell of Artisan Auctions, and as you might guess by the name, we're going to talk auctions and all things activity-related, money-related at your event, sort of as a big umbrella. I think auctions have undergone some change that we've seen sort of through the pandemic. They've also seen some not change. They are one of those things that can be a great leverage point for your organization with your donors, but they can also be a place where time quickly gets absorbed that could be spent making money in other areas. So we want to talk to Kelly today about how to make it count.
I love this.
Where to focus energy, where not to focus energy, all of those things. So Kelly, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Kristen. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun, and I'm delighted to be here chatting with you. I'm sad to miss Sam today, but I'm excited that we get to do this.
It's good that we all get to hang out together
a lot
outside of the podcast a lot. It's true. So let me formally introduce you to our audience.
Okay.
So they get all the good bits that we know. Kelly Russell is an expert auction strategist and certified benefit auctioneer. I want to underscore that, certified benefit auctioneer. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Who has helped organizations raise over $200 million in support of their great work. Kelly leads her team of fundraising professionals to produce auctions that consistently exceed client goals, and Kelly's remarkable results keep clients coming back year after year. With 19 years of profitable auctions behind her, Kelly's passion is coaching nonprofit organizations and schools on how to maximize their revenue while eliminating wasted time and effort. When she isn't planning auctions and raising record-breaking revenue, you can find Kelly traveling the globe, hosting and crushing game night, or relaxing with a fizzy beverage among friends in the great outdoors. Kelly and her team are dedicated to one mission: powerful fundraising for positive change. Thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here. This can be fun.
So I think I want to ask the big question first. We are talking to each other spring of 2024, just to sort of timestamp this for people. What does the auction and fundraising activity landscape look like right now? You do auctions all over the country. Sort of what are you seeing? What does that landscape look like right now for folks?
That is a very big question.
Right, I know.
Yeah, that's a very big question.
Start big.
So, listener, where are you calling in from?
Exactly.
Because it is different, nationally, everywhere has different pieces that they focus on. I think auctions are still very much so a part of fundraising. People want to do an auction, and they want it to be obviously profitable. But I think one of the things that you have to remember too is in the auction world, while it does look different all over the place, there are some techniques that work everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. There are techniques, there are strategies that work everywhere. And if you can kind of base yourself in those fundraising techniques, you'll have success. So what does it look like? It looks different everywhere. Yeah. It really, truly does. Yeah. I do events on the West Coast that are, really focused on the appeal, mainly.
Yeah.
A lot of events that way, and I actually love that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Midwest and kind of Central America, I guess it's coastal versus central, really, there's a lot of games and gimmicks and auctions and silent auctions and online auctions and more games and all the things, right? So it really depends on your audience, what they want, and truly how much time they have to spend at your event.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you're alluding to and what I want to get into in a little bit too is sort of some of the specifics of these activities as leverage points, right?
Yes.
The global idea, I think, for you and I, when we look at fundraising strategy, is that these should be momentum gaining activities to move you into your special appeal. And if they are not doing that, or if they are detracting from your appeal, both in the room and with your energy before the event, that's a real question mark about how is that going to serve you and what that looks like?
Everything you do, in my belief system here, I believe that everything you do at your event needs to push towards that peak of momentum, which is the special appeal. Because ultimately, that special appeal, you ask people to give a donation and they say, yes, I would like to. Let me put my card in the air. Everything before and after that is building up to that moment.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, to continue to define for our listeners, which we talk a lot about, the auction and the special appeal sit on different sides of the line in terms of one being very transactional. You will have people participate in an auction for that thing, the stuff, all of the things, but that may not participate in your special appeal, the charitable relationship side of some straddle both, but they can work in different parts of the brain for people and have different crowds of people who are participating.
And I was going to add to that, as that different crowds of participation, only a handful of people can win at your live auction, but everyone can play in your appeal. So we want to do the thing that includes everyone, and we want to focus our energy there.
Right. And I think you bring up a really great point. When we think about, the different kinds of auctions, we're talking about looking at return on investment.
Right.
And what that can look like for you and how do we maximize those. And we'll get into some of those weeds.
But yeah. I don't think it's just investment. I think it's participation and everything else too. I mean, that investment is bigger than just dollars. I want to make sure we say that, because it's not only about dollars, friends. We know you're cultivating relationships and donors that may be able to come in a different way that is really impactful for your organization.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So if we have someone who's putting together their event and they're sort of question marky about to auction or to not auction, what are some key pieces you take a look at when you're making suggestions to someone about whether they should incorporate an auction or not?
First, I look at your timeline of the event night, right? We got to know, do we have time for an auction? Because that'll also tell us how many items can we put into this auction. Yeah. If you have 6 hours, have fun, go big, have fun, do all the things. I believe, though, most people are on, especially after the pandemic, we've seen people's attention span really shrink. Yep. So should you include an auction? Well, I think first and foremost, as we've already said, and we will continue to say, focus on that special appeal first. Special appeals take a little bit of time. They can take, depending on the size of your audience, obviously will determine how much time you need. They can take 20 minutes to go through and collect all the bid numbers. And there are strategies that you can use to collect bid numbers in a faster method. Right. But I think it's really important that you look at the time for the event night as a first stop. And then on top of that, we need to look at the time we have leading up to the event. Yeah, absolutely. Because I see a lot of people, like during COVID, I feel like we were able to put virtual events together in like 6 weeks. Yeah. And for some reason, I think people have adopted that, 6 weeks is
the new
all
planning
it takes.
cycle.
That's all we need 6 weeks. No. Right. Yeah, we need time because ultimately, when you're bringing people into a room, there's a lot of logistics that go into that. And I know I've heard you all talk about it takes 400 hours to put on an event. It does. It takes a lot of time logistics-wise, let alone cultivating your donors. You need time to cultivate your donors. You need time to get with them, because you can't have, maybe you can maybe have 6 cups of coffees, in a day. 6 cups of coffee is a lot, but some people can do it. Hi. I think that's a lot to sit down with 6 different donors and really have an intentional conversation over coffee or a cocktail, if that's what you want to do. But you need to cultivate donors. You need to take time with them. You need to make sure you're not only asking them for money, but you're asking them about their life. Yeah. Be invested. Yeah. So all of that takes a great deal of time. Yep. It takes a great deal of time to cultivate people. So, and I think sometimes that cultivation can happen at one event, starting at one event. Yeah. The 12-month method, as I like to call it. Yes, that's exactly right. The event that you invite, hey, Kristen, you want to come with me to this incredible event? They support an organization that I think you're going to love. And you bring that person into the fold as your guest. And once you've had them at that event as your guest, you get to talk about that event. Wasn't that so much fun? Did you, the impact that they got from that event, then to cultivate them into a donor for future years. Yeah. I want to circle back to, because I'm not sure we've actually talked about this specifically before, which will be helpful for folks. I think sometimes people hear auction, auctioneer speaks fast, we can do a lot of items.
what I want, and what I would throw out there when we're planning, we take a look at, and it can vary, but if you take a look at an average of 5 minutes per item for someone to read the lovely description, and you to step in, pick up the crowd, move them forward. Ideally, there's just a bazillion bids that you have to narrow down to those final 2 or 3 battling each other. That if you look at that whole period of time from start to sold being about 5 minutes, when you're talking 6 items, that's adding a half hour to your program.
Yeah.
So I think when people can concretely take a look, especially if they're looking at our lovely story arc for their program, they can start to see when you add that, whether that helps your special appeal get to the peak of the arc or whether it sends it over the other side, and so that can start to help you when you're designing what that looks like.
Absolutely. It's leaning into how long does it really take. And when you script it, please everyone, please script your events. It makes everything easier for everyone. So when you script that, you can see with a time block, oh, okay, that's going to be 5 minutes. That's going to be 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes is probably on average. Hopefully your descriptions are manageable with under a minute.
Yep.
And a lot of auctioneers, especially commercial auctioneers, are 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. But you need to book 5 because sometimes there's just activities happening in the room that you can build on and feel that momentum and encourage. And some items will take a little longer. Some items will take a little less, and that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we've been talking specifically about live auctions, but I want to kind of broaden the idea of auctions too. We see them include the good old silent auction, which, has its time and place, which I want to talk about what that is, because I think some people just think, yay, stuff. Let's do it. People need something to do during the cocktail hour. But we're also, so we're talking about silent auctions, we're talking about live auctions, but we're also talking about online auctions, which I don't know what you're seeing, but for us, we are actually seeing an online auction being a really great frame to the event day, meaning it starts before the actual event and it lasts a couple days after the event. So the event becomes a way to plug kind of that tail, and it's a great way to take the event out of the room. So among those sort of 3, what are you seeing specifically that's changed? I don't want to keep saying post-pandemic because I'm not sure where we are, but like since we kind of had that moment of reset, how are you seeing people deploy these successfully and what's changed?
Right. I think part of it, and to say post-pandemic, because that is a thing that we are, ish. I mean, whatever it is. But part of that is since we had that major shift, online auctions have become very popular during the pandemic. That was the way to sell our items. We really got away a lot. We got away from that live auction in order to bring people into the events. And I love the lead-in. The lead-in that we do, it really is kind of like a marketing opportunity for you more than anything.
That's exactly right.
It gives you an opportunity to be like, hey, friends, we're having this event. And if you want to see some of the things that we have for sale, come check it out. And sometimes people get excited to go to an event for an item. They may not know much about you. But even seeing your live auction items previewed, they may go, ooh, I didn't know I could go do that. I'd like to go do that. And it's an opportunity for them to maybe get that vacation and support a great organization that they're passionate about. I don't know about you, but I like to buy my vacations at fundraising events.
I feel better on them somehow knowing that I've
given.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what's interesting too about specifically the online piece, which for us is often where we took what would have been a silent auction in the virtual space and put it online. So it's sort of that idea of things that are approachable in terms of price point that you can showcase with a lot of pictures and descriptions, but that the online auction piece becomes a way for people who aren't or can't come to the event to also engage, which becomes an interesting...
And if someone, God forbid, gets sick on event night, they can still give. They may be on their couch not feeling well, but they love this organization and they want to be a part of it. They still have that opportunity. Or they're, someone that's out of town. I can't tell you how many times we've had friends that are out of town. I can't attend because I'm out of town. Well, you can, because we have this opportunity for you to give online. And it ties into your appeal. When you look at the online auction, they have a text option oftentimes. So even in the moment of your appeal, you can say, hey, we're doing really well. For those of you who couldn't join us, if you want to, make a gift at this time, and it'll help lift our mercury in our thermometer, right?
Right.
So that helps people feel connected even when they're away for whatever reason.
Yeah. And I think, and I would ask you too, if you've seen differently, we're starting to see that the online / silent auction, when we look at where to put energy, that's more passive form of sale transaction. So 40% of value. So if you have an item valued at $1,000, $400 return. Live, when you move it into an active space where you have Kelly smiling sweetly at you and asking you to raise that bid card one more time at the next increment, we see an escalated return of 90 to 110% of value. So just from that alone, when people are looking at where to put energy, that can be a great benchmark to be like,
Absolutely. I think that sometimes people want to have also, they want to have that online auction to help with the marketability of the event, but they want to have a silent auction on site so that the participants there have something that they can partake in. I've had this happen quite a few times lately where they're like, well, we want people to attend the event and we don't think they will if there's an online auction or if everything's hybrid. But the truth is that they will still come because of the want to gather. And if you need something, if you feel like you need something for them there, okay, you can put 10 items in a silent auction. So it's small, contained, put some in your online auction, have a few in a silent auction, move into a live auction. Again, it's all about timing and how much time you really have.
What are you seeing in auctions right now? And I'm thinking probably more live, but I think across the board, what are hot sellers right now and what are not?
Oh, the $1 million question. Right? I'll try and give you $1 million answer.
Yes, exactly.
What is selling well? Honestly, experiences always sell well. It's experiences. They always sell well. I think that the things that are harder sell, I would say experiences and mission-related experiences. I think the harder sell is the subjective items, which usually is jewelry. It's usually art. It's usually sports memorabilia. But now that I've said all that, I'm going to also contradict myself immediately and say regionally, it's different.
Oh, totally.
So it is different regionally. And if you're hosting an art auction and the audience is coming for art, that's different. This does not include you in that category because you have a specific mission-related maybe component, or you've built an event that is always been and always will be an art auction. That's okay. If that is what you've done, then it's a different story because you also have art connoisseurs coming to the event. But I do think those jewelry pieces are hard to sell because it's got to appeal to you. If you're putting art in your auction, okay, kids art too. We can talk about classroom art. Different there. There's a different reason for purchasing. It's not about the art, right? So, but the regionally element here, regionally, I think we see folks in the Midwest. I think we talked about this once before. Folks in the Midwest sometimes like to buy the sports memorabilia. I see a lot of sports memorabilia at Midwest events, and it sells well. And I go, I wasn't expecting that. But it does because maybe, and I don't know what the reason is, but maybe it's because houses are different. You have a lot of wall space. You can hang up more things. I don't know. And maybe it's easier to travel to Hawaii from Portland with a direct flight than it is from Middle America, where I have to jump to a couple different places at least, or at least one, and the affordability of that is different. It costs more when you're in Middle America typically. So I think that those are some elements to kind of keep in mind. But what's the best seller? I think honestly, the best seller is the one that you find, the item that you find your audience connects with best. So ask them, what do you want to see at an event? They'll tell you. They will tell you.
Well, and I think too often, we get this sort of amnesia about last year's auction where we're like, it was all great. Let's rinse and repeat. And what you actually really need to do is dive into the data. Was it the same donor picking up things at bargain basement prices? Was it that some items had a ton of bids and went up? Great, repeat that item. Things change and vary. I think when your auction becomes set and is the same year to year, you have that group in the back that goes, and now we're going to Hawaii. And then the Hawaii package comes and, sort of all of those pieces. So I think it's thinking about that dynamically.
Yeah.
And I think I loved your point about sports memorabilia, but also contextually, there are places that works really well. You know, if you're the Seattle Mariners Foundation, your whole auction is a sports memorabilia auction.
It is.
But then also how I think people don't immediately think I can group things together in a package. So if you have a donor that gives you courtside seats to a game and you have the organization, you know, that sports organization gives you some signed stuff, you can start to put things together in a package from several different donors so that it's more robust, that it's not just the memorabilia.
Yeah. Find an Airbnb and they can go stay up there and enjoy the game. And maybe while they're there, they want to do something else in Seattle. There's plenty to do there. There's a lot of activities, whether it's the Chihuly Gardens or, you know, there's just so much up there that you can explore. But I also think that there is something to consider here as well, is the idea of when you start packaging them, you know, the sports memorabilia, it's funny. I don't see it as much on the coast. Most people are like, but the sports memorabilia is so popular in the Midwest, you can sell it solo and it'll sell for thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, which is exciting. And I don't know the phenomenon behind it. I wish I could tell you why, but I think that there are opportunities always to package things together.
Yeah.
There's always something that you can package together and think outside the box with it. It doesn't have to be an item. I mean, we've talked about people doing a gardening package where you get maybe a local high school sports team to come over and spread mulch for you. But you're at the spa. You can package that together, right? Doesn't that sound good? You come home and you're
amazing.
like, and that's done off my list of spring cleaning. And I feel great because I got a massage. So sometimes the things that you are looking at on your list, you're going, is this a good item? Well, maybe it is, but you've got to partner it right. I like that idea of like, how do you partner it with another item that's going to be exciting?
Yeah, you don't have to take everything you got donated and sell them individually.
Oh, no.
You can look for themes. You could take all of those gift certificates to all those restaurants and do date nights for a year as a package, that sort of thing. So,
I always love those too.
I know.
It's like a taste of the town, you know?
I love it.
Something exciting.
I love it. So I wanted you to give maybe an example of an experiential package and how that activates bidders differently.
Yeah. One of the things that has come up recently for a client that I have in Indiana is they have historically had a really great relationship with a jeweler. So this is important because I want to share this one because oftentimes we ask the jeweler to provide an item. Okay. What if no one likes it?
And you've just said subjective jewelry.
Yeah, I did.
Danger, danger,
danger,
Will
danger.
Robinson.
Yeah,
Yes.
be careful. Well, let's turn it into an experience instead, right? So maybe instead of having them donate that item to you, maybe we can go to them and say, hey, can our donor come and create a piece with you?
Yes.
Because now, think about that for a second. Think about the fact that if I create a piece of jewelry, I know I'm going to love it if I'm partly responsible for the design. I'm going to have purchased it at an auction. That is going to be such a fun story. Oh my gosh, I purchased this wonderful opportunity to make this piece of jewelry at this incredible organization. Let me tell you more. And they're going to go, really? That's fun. It's more exciting. The story, honestly, comes back to storytelling. The storytelling after the fact is way more exciting, but you stand a greater chance of selling it for a higher dollar value because it's more than just a piece of jewelry.
It's open-ended.
Yeah.
You can sort of see yourself in the adventure versus it being determined for
And
you.
You're going to have, you're going to have an adventure. It becomes an experience versus a thing that you're buying.
Yeah.
Right. So that to me is something that's very exciting. It's also a thing I like to do with Wall of Wines.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how often you all do this. I feel like you do it a lot. But the idea of the Wall of Wine, you have all these bottles of wine that are up on this wall. People are buying them for $20 or $50 or whatever the dollar amount is. On the back of every single bottle, get yourself a label that says purchased at and put the name of the organization, because when someone goes to open that bottle of wine, while it is a transaction, where's the memory in it?
Yep.
When they go pull that out of their cellar and they say, hey, Kristen, let's cheers together. Where did I get this bottle? Oh, it tells me right there. I got it
There
at
was
this
this great
wonderful
event
event
I went to for blah, blah, blah. I love that. That's such a
think
great,
it's-
simple thing.
It doesn't take a lot of time.
Right.
You can create a label. You can print it off 100 times on labels, put it on there, and you've got just that one little extra touch
Yep.
that I think helps people go, oh, and it brings them back to the experience of the night that they can, also you're going to thank you from this organization. Oh yeah, that's where I got this. Let me tell you about this organization. Do you know about them? I don't. Oh, great. Tell me more, right? So that it's how do you create an experience out of something? So you have to think of different ways to really bring people back around to the stories.
That's great.
And create their own.
That's magic to my ears, bringing people back to the stories. Kelly, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We're going to thank some of our amazing partners. And when we come back, we're going to keep talking auctions.
I can't
wait.
We'll
be right back.
At Elevate, we believe in bringing people together. Our online learning platform for fundraising events has webinars, workshops, downloadable tools, and more, designed to save you time and stress when planning your next event. We're getting nonprofit, development, and event planning professionals the tools and ideas they need to create events that inspire donors and raise more money. So join us at elevatenonprofit.com. The link is also in our show notes.
Welcome back to the Fundraising Elevator. I am here flying solo without my co-host, Sam. I think we're doing all right, Kelly.
I think we're okay.
We are here with Kelly Russell from Artisan Auctions, and we are talking auctions.
Yeah.
But actually, I'd love for us to start talking about incentives and gamification, which sort of fall under the bigger using items for good category, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So sometimes incentives and gamification can happen during an auction. I'm wondering specifically if you can talk to us about party boards.
Yeah.
What they are, how you use them, and what that could look like for someone.
Oh, I love party boards. Who doesn't want to go to a party? Yeah.
Well,
Fun,
as
right?
the introvert, that's question marky sometimes, but you can go to two of mine.
Okay,
How's
I'll
that?
extrovert for
Yes,
you.
I love it.
So party boards, I love party boards because they're an opportunity to gather again. And people come to your event because they want to gather. And if you give them opportunities to gather throughout the year, you're just building community, right? They are most popular, I think, at schools. I was going to say in classrooms, but no, at schools, they're most popular. We see a lot of them there because it's an opportunity to get the community together. Party boards are great. I love them. I think they're fun. The idea is someone is going to host a party and you pay X number of dollars per spot. So your bid sheet in a silent auction, or your poster in some cases, in a silent auction will leave a blank for a bid number and then have $100, $100, $100 all the way down until you have for the number of spaces that are available.
So I'm not upbidding anyone. I'm literally, it's a fixed amount for a slot and I'm buying into this party. Okay.
And the thing that's most important is that it has to be location specific and date specific. Because without those two things, if you have 25 people, hey, there's no event. But if you have 25 people who sign up to go to that party and you have to coordinate their schedules after the fact, someone's going to be upset, right?
Yes.
It's not going to be on a day that they're available or. So it's far easier to set the date, set the location, and then tell you how many spots you have available. Everyone buys in. Now, can I share a fun thing that one of my clients did where they moved that to the live auction?
I would love it if you did.
It's my favorite. So we have some groups that like to take those party boards and move them into the live auction. We've done it with lots of different things, but one of my favorite is a group that we worked with, Children's Cancer Association here in Portland, Oregon. They created a supper club. Okay. And the supper club was originally, just one, like, outing where you got to go. They usually have like 900 people at their event, keep in mind. But it's one activity where you go out, you listen to an incredible band because they have a great connection with a really wonderful artist that they would create a opportunity where it's 35 couples, so 70 people total. 35 couples go to a nice little venue, have some snacks and bites, and listen to some incredible music in an intimate setting because there's only 70 people there. So they set that up. And the first years they did it before I joined them, they did it as first card in the air, like, okay, bidder number 204, bidder number 313, bidder number 111. And it was someone just picking 35 couples. And they sold these, for the record, at $1,500 a spot. Really good music. So when I came along, I said, okay, they decided they wanted to expand it and make it 3 supper clubs. So they had 3 different times that they're getting together. The dates were set. The musicians were set. Only 35 people can go. 35 couples, could go. And what I did was I said, okay, so it's like, it's a party board, but instead of putting it in the silent auction where everyone, or, it was still in the live auction, we're putting it in the live auction instead of just starting at 1,500. If we only have 35 spots, previously they had to just like pick and choose, and not everyone that wanted to go got to. So what we did is we started saying we have 35 spots. We're starting at $1,500 a spot. Raise your hand if you'd like to go and tell me how many couples you want to go with you. Like, okay. So that's what we did. And if there were more than 35 couples, we raised the price.
Yep.
And we would raise the price again.
We call this surge pricing, people.
Yes, it is surge pricing, friends. So we surge priced it. And we actually, that first year, we ended up, I think, at $3,750 a couple. Like $3,750
Do that
a
math.
couple.
It's a totally different
It's like $131,000. It is a big package. But they had really great musicians because they had a really great connection with their donor. Yeah. And they had really great venues that they could go to. And my favorite part about this party is that they had donors who had capacity coming to the event, and they also had staff going to cultivate those donors. Yep. So you have an opportunity to continue to cultivate the donors that support you, that love you, that want to give to you. You have that continued opportunity to support them. I think the next year we sold it for $4,250. I mean, it was big, and it became really, really popular for folks. So it's a really fun way. If you can come up with a strategy like that, it's really fun. Another way that I like to use party boards, just to go back to the silent auction, sometimes we have to train our audience to be on time to our events.
Shocker.
I know how shocking that is. But a lot of times people come late, right? So we started implementing a party board activity that we call a progressive party board. Get a really fun trip. I know there are several consignment companies out there, or if you have a donor who's just really generous and will sell you a lot of opportunities, you can put a progressive party board together where you start off and the first person to buy it buys it at $1,000, then the next one at $1,100, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. So each one is progressively $100 more, $200 more, whatever you want it to be.
But everyone gets one.
Everyone still wins. So great. You are running the bill up, but everyone still wins. And it trains your audience. Ooh, I need to get there early because I could have gotten that for $1,000, but I ended up getting it for $1,600.
That's great.
It's a fun way to kind of, if you have that crowd that's always showing up late, it's a fun way to bring them in. Talk about it online. Talk about it on social media. We got this great progressive party board. Come early if you want to get in on this trip to Mexico or this trip to Italy or whatever it is. It's kind of fun. It's a different way of doing a party board. Yeah. And it's one that you don't do them all like that, please. No. Pick one, but it's a nice way to get some folks in for that opportunity.
Well, and I think what's great to what you were saying is your party boards have to have a date.
Yeah.
So that means you as the organization know when this gathering of donors is happening. And that becomes, instead of you trying to get a coffee date on the calendar with a donor, that becomes a great way for you to set up. We are not advocating, please hear, we are not advocating that you turn that party into an event.
No.
But it becomes a way for you to be able to participate in a casual setting with donors to just, wow, you like this band.
We've seen,
wow, you like that wine. Wow, start taking notes. Yeah. Start seeing it as that touch point that you can start to to continue your relationship.
And it can be anything. It can be a dive-in movie where you have, inner tubes in a big movie set up for people to engage in. Those are fun. It can be flip-flops and lemon drops around a pool, and you serve lemon drops all afternoon, and everyone has a good time for a set number of hours. All those things are great. I mean, you can even have party boards, which obviously in the school versions, sometimes you have them for kids. Like the kids are going to go and have PE all day in the gym with a gym teacher and have an activity that they can do. And it's fun, right? Yep. So there's a lot of different ways. I always say there's lots of ways to bake a cake. You just have to pick your recipe. And also, I want to also say I'm not advocating for 17 party boards at your event.
No, but they can be a great way to pull mission through.
Sure,
absolutely. And you can get really creative about that. Let's talk. Another one that comes up. Bid frenzy.
Oh, the bid frenzy. I love the bid frenzy.
Yeah, so talk to us about the bid frenzy.
The bid frenzy is a way for some of those auction items that would be great enough to be in the auction, but you just don't have room because maybe you're only doing 6 items this year. A bid frenzy is a nice way to bring in those items where we literally say, here's a description of the item, and in your catalog, it's only a description, and its first card in the air gets it. Okay. So you can put like 5 items in a bid frenzy maybe. And really it is an opportunity for people to get their cards out and get ready to hold them up really fast And it's whoever the auctioneer sees first when they announce that one. So oftentimes I will turn around and be like, okay, here we go. This is for the, I don't know, Nike shoes. And I turn around and there's hands everywhere. And I go pick the one that I see first.
Yep.
Right. Occasionally there are folks that we know, like, not that we know, I don't want to say that we're like picking them because we know they want it, but there are people that we know have been really strong bidders and they haven't had the chance to win something. Maybe you pick them. Maybe you did see them first, you know? You go for the first hand in the air as often as possible. I've had people come all the way up to the stage and put them in front of my face.
It's an amazing activation in a room. You see a crowd who is kind of leaned back, like, and what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, people can be on chairs. I've seen them literally walk up to the lip of the stage.
Put a card right here. Okay, I guess it's going to bidder 204.
Yep.
So, but the idea on this one is that you pick a price point that is roughly in the range. Like if it's valued at $1,200 and you think $1,200 is what it should sell for, great, put $1,200 on it. So we literally say, okay, this one is the trip to Mexico for $1,200, and hands go up. Sometimes we say it's, sometimes we increase that dollar amount if we think, oh, you know what, a trip to Mexico would go for $2,000. Let's do that. I did have someone do a super bid frenzy once where we sold 4 in a bid frenzy and then had a really great trip as the super bid frenzy. So like items that usually we keep it in that range of like, $200-$300 on up to like, $1,200 is usually the range. These folks put something in for like $3,000 and I was like, I don't know, gone. It had so much popularity. It was great.
Well, you've also demonstrated for people how they can participate at that point. And so they're just waiting, it gets in on that impulse control. The longer an auction for an item goes on, the longer I start doing my bills and I start doing math. But you get to capitalize on that impulse of like, I want to go to blah, blah, blah. And you're just like immediately, it's like thumbs up, thumbs down on price point.
Either want
we
it.
don't, we don't sit around and haggle.
And also you get more winners in your live auction.
It's true. Yeah, so, which is always great.
It's great. We like that. And sometimes we do doubles or triples on things.
Right.
Tray of cupcakes. Okay, boom, boom, boom. You all 3 get one.
Yeah, it's great energy in the room.
Yeah.
And can build
Gets
your
people
momentum.
excited. Yeah.
So we talk about incentives and we advocate sometimes incentives being used in a special appeal to drive giving, maybe at a particular level.
Yep.
Can you talk about sort of the strategy of that and what that could look like for folks?
Yeah. For a long time, I remember we did a lot of incentives together for years, and we'd get something like an iPad, or some sort of tablet or the newest.
Back when tablets were big.
When they were huge, or the new watch or whatever the thing was. And we'd say, anyone who gives a gift in our appeal at the $200 level, and we keeping in mind, we already did $5,000, $2,500, $1,000, $500, and we're now at the $250 level, and we introduced this idea of anyone who gives a gift at the $250 level will be entered into a drawing to win this, enter into this incentive drawing to win this thing, right?
Yep.
And the idea behind it was to get people, like, often we found that there were folks at the $100 level. We had just so many people at the $100 level. So how do we get them to go up a level?
Yep.
And so this was to incentivize them to raise their bid at the $250 level over the $100 level. And that's how we use it. So nowadays it's more like we incentivize with, we've got 2 days in a cabin, and you can do this at any level. We've had incentives at the $1,000 level that have been successful. We've had incentives at, the $250 or the $100 level too that have been successful as well.
Yeah. And the most successful are when you have taken the time to take a look at your data, like you're talking about, like to see where a bulk of donors is that maybe you'd like to move up. I think this falls into the category. I want folks to also think about this being the territory of matches, but your incentive falls on the more transactional side.
It does.
And the incentives work on sort of that more relationship-based philanthropic side. But I think incentives, we were talking earlier about jewelry being subjective, that sometimes incentives as one of your subjective items, let's say a jeweler has given you a piece of jewelry, you can't change the jewelry, it is what it is. People hear diamond, and if it's not a specific thing they're bidding for in an auction, but it's an incentive with a chance to win, that works on them in a different way. So that can be a great way to use some of your...
Or in a raffle, that happens too.
Some of your subjective items.
Yeah, exactly. Those are great ways to use those.
How have you seen an incentive in an appeal work the best?
work the best.
Meaning, like, what was the alchemy happening? What work had they done beforehand? Sort of what was happening in the room where it all kind of came together and it was like, oh yeah, that's
well,
it.
I mean, I think sometimes incentives that are nice are mission-focused incentives. You know?
Do you have like an example you're thinking of for
actually,
that?
I do. I have a group that their incentive was really great because they have a cabin that they can use and they own the cabin, and they decided that their incentive was going to be anyone who gave at the $250 level got to go to this cabin for a night.
Love it.
Everyone. So
I can do that math.
yeah. Yes, please. I'll go. But also, like, if you gave it like 10,000 or 5,000, you're probably going to give again at 250.
Yep.
They made it mission focused, which really helps. So, incentives do help draw people to that next level of giving. It really does, because they're like, oh, I can maybe I get something for my gift. That's exciting. I think it can be fun. So you just, again, if you have a mission focus to it, that one was great, because they're like, you can give as many away at $250 as you want. Because I really think that place, only for them, it was only $135 to really rent it. So they're making more on it, and they were getting exposure for the cabin that people can rent.
Yeah.
Which was also good.
I think anytime you can bring mission through into
Absolutely.
those pieces is great. So I think we talk a lot about, specifically with auctions, I hear from organizations about who's left out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that's real. You know, you said earlier the winning bidder in an auction and how few of them there actually are. So how do activities perhaps lend inclusivity to your bigger quote unquote auction, whether it's an auction specifically or not? It's
hard because if you have a millionaire at your event, they're going to get whatever they want, right? You can't say, we're not going to let you purchase this thing. And going back to the incentive for a second too, sometimes it's about getting people involved in the event and getting them involved in giving, because some organizations have a group of people, like parents in general, that maybe don't understand the auction all the way through. It's our job to educate them throughout the course of the night. But sometimes they are still like, I don't understand what this appeal is, and why would I give to this? They've got to make sense of it in their head. So sometimes we offer that opportunity for a lower level incentive at $25.
Yeah.
And everyone can, instead of at the $100 level, instead of saying at the $100 level, who wants to give $100, we say you have 4 tickets on the back of your bid card, and each one represents $25 towards our appeal tonight to really support our youth. So that's another way to give people the opportunity to give 1 for $25, 2 for $50, 75, or all 4 for $100. And then again, offering a thing that they can win, probably like a $100 gift card to go out to dinner or something simple. But it's about bringing them into the idea of getting into giving and understanding giving. So it's hard at events because, having that lower level kind of opportunity, that lower level drawing to help, support a specific thing can really help people understand the auction. And again, going back to the appeal specifically, because we want people to participate. But when it comes to it, you can't stop someone. You cannot stop someone from buying something that they want if they have a lot of capacity. So that's where things like your wall of wine are an opportunity for them to play. Whether it's a wine ring toss, a wall of wine, you have to provide opportunities that are a set price point for folks so that everyone feels like they can be included. It's hard in the auction specifically.
Yeah, totally. But I think
really tough.
I think your point is really, really well taken in the idea of activities being something that you can use to engage a wider range of your audience and price points. We have a mutual client who uses a heads or tails raffle to do that engagement, but then also in their sponsorship of clients coming to the event, provide them with a strand of beads to get into the activity.
Right.
So that you can start to see how to drive participation and who is participating in a different way.
Yeah. It's hard because we want to be inclusive. We don't want anyone to feel left out. I hate when people feel left out.
Right.
That is something that just makes me feel like, oh gosh, how do I include them in that? So all those activities and games give that opportunity. Now, I'm not saying do all of them. Please don't, because it's too much.
That's when we get into gimmick.
Well, yeah. And it's also kind of like nickel and diming your audience, right? Like if they only have $25 to come in and spend, maybe you do a heads and tails bead for $10 so they can have 2 opportunities. But not do, we don't want to give them too much. It gets to the point where if we have 14 different activities for them to do, yes, we've given them opportunities to choose, but you're also trying to manage all those activities.
And there's no way they actually know why they came anymore.
Right.
Your mission has taken a back seat.
It's a circus.
To a circus.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the t-shirt for this episode. So the last sort of activity, gimmick, incentive piece I want you to walk through, the one we love perhaps to hate. It's called last hero standing some places, last person standing. Can you walk us through what it is and how it could be used successfully?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes. I as you know, Kristen, I am not a fan of this game.
I know.
And I think for good reason, because we're talking about inclusivity.
Yep.
And I think what happens is the last hero standing is a fun game for people who have capacity. What it is at the end of the appeal, you say the last person to give me $100 is going to be crowned our last hero of the night. And they're going to win this, I don't know, whatever it's like an overnight stay at a local hotel, staycation, bottle of wine, romantic getaway. So we then, after we've gone through the entire appeal, it becomes a shakedown. It's what it feels like to me. I don't like it. It feels like a shakedown. It's who's going to be the last person. And currently it's bidder number 132 at $100. Who's going to be the last person? Will it be someone else? And people start slowly raising their hands. And each time they raise their hand, it's another $100 that they're giving. So
they're giving regardless. You put your bid card up, that $100 is getting put on your tab.
Yeah, it's going to be put on.
You're just trying to be the last one.
You're just trying to be the last one to do it at $100. Okay. So that sounds like a great game because, we're going to make more money. The hurdles that I run into with it are that you're taking everyone in your room on that journey together. So someone who doesn't have capacity to give it $100 or has capacity to give $100 once or twice, they may give and they're going to get charged for that gift. But inevitably, it keeps going around the room until we have like 2 or 3 people that have a lot of capacity
and can just keep
just keep bouncing between them. And we've taken 200 or 300 people in the room with us on this journey. They're having to sit through that and go, okay, it's a show of wealth. All right.
And you're also taking some of the wind out of the sails of a really successful appeal that everyone just felt really good about. Yeah. And now we are drawing the tail of it out forever.
We're begging. Yeah. It's so long. And it's just so long. But also talking about the amount of time that people are willing to sit. This can add 15 to 20 minutes to your event. And like, it is really long. I would much rather you go sit with those 3 donors ahead of time and ask them to make a really impactful
gift. Let's move you up a level.
Yeah. If you have the capacity to give, let's move you up a level. And that's exactly it. I would rather spend 5 minutes, instead of taking 300 people in the room on that journey, I would much rather spend the hour individually with that person where I can connect with them more and really get them excited about giving at a higher level, because it's not to win a thing. That's so gimmicky. It's so gimmicky. It's not to win the thing. It's because you believe in the organization and the work they're doing. That's what it should be about anyway. But it also just takes a lot of time to do this game. And what I find is oftentimes, and this is the real sad truth, is that oftentimes I find that people who have played that game the year before, they go, well, we want to include it again. And I go, oh boy. Because what happens is you start training your crowd that you've got this game. And so that person that was going to give you $10,000, now they're giving you $5,000 because they want to play the game a whole bunch instead of moving them up in the giving. So it actually can be, unfortunately, counterintuitive and really accidentally sabotage your event the next year. So I try and steer clear of that because I want to be aware of everyone's time. And I don't want to have an elitist moment. I want to have a very inclusive moment. I do think a place where it can work, for the record, is for those groups who are having milestone events where they have an event once every 5 years. I think it can work there. I think that's
repping it every year.
You're not going to repeat it every single year, but it can be something kind of fun. The hard part is you can't really put a time limit on it. Because if you put a timer up, everyone goes, okay, I'm
just waiting until that lasts.
3, 2, 1, and 400 hands go up at the same time. So I think it's just really about making sure that you're being aware of what it's really doing in the audit. Because you're going to make maybe $5,000 on that. but you could have made that $5,000 without taking 20 minutes out of everyone's day. Time is precious to people.
Right. And I do think there are other leverage points in that space, like perhaps a sweep at the $100 level where everybody can rip off that other colored card and hold it up, and you can pull it in. That's more efficient with regard to time, and you can start to see, like, people get caught up in the momentum.
Sure, a little more work on the front end and the back end of the event, but that's okay for data. But you know what? You can handle that, and that's a couple people handling it. I love the sweep in exchange for the last hero standing any day of the week. That to me it's inclusive. And it can be at any level. It can be at that $25 level. It can be at that $100 level or higher if you want to. But I also think there's something about last person to give me this $100. We've seen people start going, you know what, $100 isn't enough. Let's go to $250. Let's go to $300. And it's like, no. Yeah. You already made a commitment at the $100 level. So we need to honor the commitment that we made too. So be careful in how you word that should you choose to use it. But also, think about really the journey that you're asking everyone to go on.
Yep. And gamification only gets you so far.
That's right.
Those aren't necessarily your forever donors too. So be careful where you spend your energy.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Okay. And when we come back, we're going to jump in the fundraising elevator.
All right. I'm excited.
We'll be right back.
Loving the fundraising elevator, but wondering how you can talk to Sam and Kristen? Well, now's your chance to do it. Book one-on-one consulting time with Swaim Strategies experts Sam, Kristen, and Mary, and get all your event questions answered. Our team has you covered on strategic planning, fundraising strategy, storytelling, data tools, and registration support. Get the tools and the help you need to make the most impact at your fundraising event. Book at elevatenonprofit.com. The link is also in our show notes.
Welcome back to the Fundraising Elevator. I am here with the amazing Kelly Russell of Artisan Auctions. We have worked together in the gala auction landscape for longer than I'm going to say.
It's okay. It's been a long time, like probably from the beginning for me.
From the beginning. And I feel really, really grateful to have been in this work with you. And we keep trying things together and learning things together. And today we've been able to talk about what some of those pieces are. What I'd love to talk about now is the thing that is in the back of so many of our fundraisers' brains. You say auction, I hear procurement. What do you want me to do? And this can be a place where it goes off the rails. This can be a place where time gets spent that doesn't need to get spent. And this can also be a place where expectations are had that aren't met, all of the things. Yeah. So when you're working with clients, what tips do you have for them about procurement, but also how they can work with their event committee in a successful way around procurement?
Procurement is always a scary word, right?
Yep.
We're going to have a procurement work session. Woo! No, thank you. Call it a brainstorming party, and it's all of a sudden way more fun. We'll start there.
Yes, that's right.
One of the first things I tell auction chairs for their committee is procurement is on everyone and everyone is on procurement.
That's great. That might be the other t-shirt.
I was going to say that might be the new t-shirt.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but procurement is on everyone and everyone's on procurement because we all have a different Rolodex of people that we know.
Yep.
So it's important that we all work together on procurement. It's important that it's not left to one person to do all the procurement because I'll tell you, two things happen. One, they get burnt out.
Yep.
And their entire friend base, donor base that they know also gets burned out. That's and no one wants that. We need people that are excited to go out and engage. And if we're being strategic, we can't just ask one person to do all that.
That's right.
We're being strategic and we're looking. So that brainstorming party is actually a really great opportunity to say to friends, hey, let's all get together and brainstorm some ideas. Let's talk to some of our top donors and see what is it that you want to see at this auction so we can go get those items. Now, all of a sudden, we're working more strategically to get things that we know our crowd wants. And your donors will totally tell you what they're interested in. If you're trying to decide on a consignment package for like what package should we include in our live auction to get a trip that will be attractive to people, we can send that out in a survey. You can pick which ones you want, send it out in a survey, and then say, which one of these is most interesting to you? That way you can control the reserve on it. You can control like where we're looking at instead of just saying, where do you want to go in the world?
Yeah.
That's big,
overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And people want to kind of know, I think people in all, people want you to tell them what you need.
Yeah.
Please tell me what you need. Even when it comes to donations for your appeal, please tell me what you need so I can actually make that a reality. Yep. But I think with procurement, if you ask people what they want, they will share that with you, and then they're more likely to be a bidder at your event.
also asking folks what they have.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
a great way that I've seen the committee, it's like people are like sitting on these amazing treasure troves of wine cellars or, oh, we have a house there. Or my friend, like all of a sudden things that seem pedestrian in someone's life are all of a sudden you put a different lens on them and they're like,
I
you
can
could,
help.
you could use that. And I don't actually have to even go talk to somebody about getting that. I can just donate it. So I think too, that brainstorming comes in really handy that way.
It's really helpful. And if you know what your donors spend, you can put some framing around it. If the majority of your donors spend $5,000, okay, friends, we have $5,000 to spend. What would you buy yourself? Ask the question, what would you buy yourself? And most people will tell you, and I like to say, what would you buy yourself if you didn't have a spouse to worry about, any children, no time commitments, and you don't have to go to work?
World's your oyster.
Yes, the world's your oyster. What would you buy?
Yeah.
So people will tell you with their dreams. They'll tell you what they would love to do. I want to go on this amazing spa vacation. I want to go. Many times it's I want to go.
Yeah, trips are big.
That's why experiences are best sellers, because that's what people think of first. And sometimes it's I would like to have someone, redesign the interior of my house, like pick out paint colors, something, and paint, whatever it is. But I think it's really important because if you can ask that question and then follow it up. So do that exercise by asking, what would you do for yourself? And inevitably someone will be like, well, my partner would like, and I go, hang on, they're not involved yet. We're thinking about ourselves. We're being selfish. It's great. But then the next question is, what would you buy for your partner?
Yeah.
And sometimes we get a beat before we hear a lot of answers, which is okay. That's all right. People are really thinking and being thoughtful about, what does my partner love?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you what their partner loves. And then you can start thinking about these items. And if you have someone scribing them up on a giant easel-sized Post-it, that is a great way to capture that information. Yep. And then we ask, what would your children in your life like? And then do you have any access to pilots or electricians or plumbers or people that can come work on your house? We like to ask all those questions because when we collect all that information, do you know any chefs? Do you know anyone, whatever it is, if you decide someone wants to do a dinner for 10 at your home, great. That's a fabulous package. What's the cuisine?
Yeah.
I need to know what
the map starts to fill
you
in.
You start to fill a room filled with all these ideas. And while that's happening, along the way, you hear a couple things. You hear some murmurs of, okay, let's put a star next to that one. People are excited about it already.
Right.
And then you also get to ask your attendees at this brainstorming party, okay, friends, so do any of you have access to anything?
How are we going to make this happen?
Yeah. There's going to be something on there that people are like, there's no way we can get that. And someone's going to go, well, I can do that. And it's happened so many times and I love it. It's my favorite. They're like,
you never get what you don't ask for.
Correct. I love that. You have to ask. You have to ask. So that's another part of what I work with groups to have a brainstorming party. But then I also say you have to ask. Yep. You don't get if you don't ask. So it's really important to do that. But when you go for that ask, when you're actively reaching out to that potential donor of an item, I think it's important to go in with a plan.
Yep.
And maybe a backup plan.
Yep.
If you have someone who's been a huge supporter of yours, and we did this with one of our favorite people here in town many years ago, we went in with a pie in the sky. This is our pie in the sky. This is what we would love to have you do. And it was like fund an entire program. Mm-hmm. And it was a big ask. The second thing was, for our appeal, we'd like to have $25,000 from you to use at the $1,000 level for matching.
Yep.
And our final request was a $10,000 sponsorship. So the first one was like $65,000 to fund a picnic. The second one was $25,000 to match at the appeal. Thought that'd be fun. And the last one was to literally ask for a $10,000 sponsorship. Now, that wasn't an item. That was for the appeal. But what we ended up coming back with was $25,000 for the appeal and a $10,000 sponsorship is what they decided on. You do the same thing when you go ask for items. Same idea. You go in and you ask for 4 bikes and they say, we can't give you 4 bikes. You say, how about 1 bike? And they say, yeah, we can give you 1 bike. And you go, awesome. Can you include some of those like saddle bags on the bike filled with extra stuff? And they go, well, we're going to give you the bike. We weren't planning to include all that extra stuff, but I guess we can. Sure. Yeah. So go in with a plan and a backup plan and then see if there's anything else that they'll add into it because people want to help you. They want to see you be successful. And please, please, please always send the person who is best connected to the person you're asking because it's hard to say no to your friends and it's really easy.
Are important.
It's really easy to say yes to people that you know and love.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Let's jump in the fundraising elevator.
Ooh.
We're going to go up to the penthouse.
Okay.
It's where the party is. So Tell us about a party or event you were at and what made it memorable. Doesn't have to be a fundraising.
I can't be a fundraiser. I can't because there's too many. I love them all.
It's true.
There's no way.
What was it that was memorable about it?
Well, I'm going to pick something that is thanks to you and Sam.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
You're responsible for my attending the nonprofit storytelling conference.
Great. I love it.
I fell in love with that event because it was story. For me, it was a conference that invigorated me. It got me excited about my work again, even more. I mean, I'm already excited, but it got me even more excited. But I loved that nonprofit storytelling because the storytelling that happens there and the way that y'all incorporate even more excitement around it. Like there was one story about the founder found, everyone passed up this nickel. They all passed it up. And then finally Sean Connery picked it up and was like, it's a nickel. It still spins, pocketed it. And for the rest of the event, there were nickels everywhere you went because it was tying it back to the story. And it made everyone go, oh, the nickel, that's fun. So you pick one up and you put it in your pocket, you take it home with you, and you remember that story. It was a connection. The stories were so powerful throughout the entire event. There were so many great speakers. Everyone should go to that as far as I'm concerned if you're in fundraising. But it was, for me, that was memorable.
Yeah.
I loved the connection there. And I loved all the people I got to meet too. It was reinvigorating for me. I loved it.
It's the best. It's some of the best things about gathering. I
Absolutely.
love that.
Absolutely.
Let's go down to the boiler room where all the tools are. Give us one tool you think should be in every fundraiser's
Just
toolkit.
one? Only one? Only one. All right. I think a tool that every fundraiser needs is patience. You got to have patience.
I love that. Say more about that.
It is so important. There's so many times it's hard because a lot of times people are busy.
Yep.
They can't get back to you in time and you're like, oh my gosh, I need an answer.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, I'm waiting. And it's hard sometimes. Patience is tough. It's hard for me too. I'm not always the most patient person, but I think patience is important because in the long run, when you give people time, when you're patient and give them the time they need to make a decision, you oftentimes find you get an even better response than you ever expected. So just being patient and waiting patiently for things to happen, it'll come together. And just keep your calm and your patience on event night. It'll be fine.
Yep.
It's going to be a great event. People are going to love it. Just keep that calm, keep that patience.
Yeah, it leaves room for everybody to process the way they process. I love that.
I don't know how many times I've gone to events and money came in afterwards, right? It comes in afterwards. So sometimes you move people, and if you're patient and that they're a donor that you thought was going to give in the room and they didn't give in the room on event night, they went home and thought about it some more because they wanted to do something more impactful, and you get a check for $10,000 next week.
Love it.
Just be patient.
I love it. So, Kelly, I get to spend so much time with you, but how do other people get to spend time with you? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I love a good game night.
So we've heard.
It's fun for me. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach out online. Artisanauctions.com is the number one best spot to get a hold of me. You just go to our Get Started page in the upper corner, click the arrow. It will take you to that page. Fill that out. And I will get back to you, or someone on my team will get back to you, and we'll find out how we can partner together.
And your new book is?
My new book is called The Book on Fundraising Auctions. You can find it on the Elevate Nonprofit page and also on my website. So it is an opportunity. It's a great stepping stone for newer organizations, especially to cut through all this stuff. We don't need to worry about what color the napkins are. Yep. Let's focus on the strategy to get you there.
Great. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do for the nonprofit sector.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for being the cheer bomb always. We appreciate your partnership, and we appreciate all you do in the world.
Likewise, my friend. Likewise. Let's keep doing it. I love it.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you next time.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced in partnership with Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV Department. The program is produced by April Clark and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson and Heidi Christensen. Video production by Chris Peterson, Whitney Gomes, and Nathan Bouquet. Video editing by Steve Osborne. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group, and support from Sophia Keller, John Lyles, and Andy Dowsett. The Fundraising Elevator is recorded at the AV department in Portland, Oregon. For years, they've been our trusted partner, delivering exceptional audio-visual production and videography for nonprofits. In 2020, they transformed into a dynamic live streaming studio, producing more than 900 virtual and hybrid events. Now, we embark on an exciting journey together to bring you this podcast. Seeking the best in live events, video production, and live streaming, we proudly recommend our friends at the AV department. Link in the episode description.